Welcome back to Make Me Good. I'm David Karli. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, and I got to be honest with you, I'm a little terrified about this particular guest, just based on my previous interactions with her and her prowess in many different fields, her expertise, and her versatility. Please welcome the beautiful and talented and overly competent Zoe Karli. Zoe, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
I love you.
I love you too. He said overly competent. I think also overly confident.
Overly confident, indeed. Yeah. So let me prep the listeners just with a little bit, and then we're going to dive in. So Zoe and I don't know how many years ago did we decide we were going to work together as husband and wife in several businesses. It's been how many years now?
I think officially 2019, but I think I took over things in 17.
Okay, and I'm going to let you tell the story, but let me just prep the audience a little bit. So I started a biotechnology company in 2010, medical practice, research, development, so forth and so on. As this thing grew, we obviously needed to grow with it, add people, add human capital, all of the usual things that startups need to do. And it reached a point where there's never enough capital with startups. There's never enough resources. And I went to Zoe and we were talking, and I believe you said to me, hey, let me run this or that or operations. I'll let you go through the specifics. We decided to do it, and we're going to talk a lot about that today because it's been quite a wild ride. But Zoe, take me back to that day we discussed it and how I originally was somewhat hesitant.
I don't know that was a discussion. I think that was more of a...
You telling me what to do?
I don't particularly remember a long discussion. I just remember I'm doing most of this behind the scenes anyway, so you probably should just get out of the way and let me actually do it. That sound about right?
Okay. And what was my reaction when you suggested this? You remember?
I do recall that there were some conversations over a period of time where if I noticed a problem, I would come to you and tell you, but I don't remember your reaction or
My reaction was no. That's a terrible idea. We should not do that.
Well, clearly we did.
Yeah, we talked
and so
about
the
that.
no didn't really stick.
Yeah, but I remember the realization I came to is, I know it's going to be difficult, but quite frankly, you were the right person for the job. Right. Tell the audience a little bit about your background.
So after I got out of the military, I thought to myself, I don't have a resume. And then a best girlfriend of mine married my best guy friend. And she said, hey, I work in pharmaceuticals. Do you want to apply for the job that is open? And I said, sure. I don't have a resume. And then I met with the boss. He had one interview. I'm pretty sure I dropped either the F-bomb or said a bad word during the interview, and I got hired the next day. So fast forward, had success in that position, moved into medical device sales, which is why I think you thought that I would be a good fit. So started in a small position, got to work with two best girlfriends, grew it, consultants all over the East Coast.
And how old were you around this time? This was what?
So I would have been 26.
Okay.
So through a long period of time, because I had a lot of passive revenues behind the scenes in varying different industries and fields. But, well, I won't get into it too much, but I started having grand mal seizures right around the time that I was 30. Mm-hmm. And then I couldn't drive for a year. And thank God I did have that passive revenue with like I said, I worked in several different industries with direct sales and working with some of the medical device opportunities that I had. And then I couldn't drive, so it was really hard to work for a year.
So mid-20s, you built this thing up. It was rolling. You were doing well, single, great life, amazing, lots of money, nice cars. And then you run into this medical
it was a
wall.
huge roadblock. I remember sliding down the countertop when I was sitting in my parents' house, and my mom was deployed to Djibouti, so she wasn't there, but my dad was there, and I just started crying. And I said, why me? Why me? Mm-hmm. And I do know that at that point, I think there was a switch. I've always been confident, motivated, that word that everybody puts on their resume, self-starter. But I mean, I started a lawn service when I was in 6th or 7th grade because we didn't have a lot of money growing up. And my parents basically said, these are the clothes that we can afford. If you want anything outside of whatever it is that we put on the table and in your drawers, then you're going to have to figure out a way to get it yourself. So I did. And probably after several doctors we were living in Virginia Beach at the time, going to University of Maryland, seeing epileptic specialists, not knowing what was going on. I didn't have a familiar history. There was nobody that had seizures or anything like that. So it was, like I said, I slid down the counter, the cabinet, sat on the floor, cried, and said, "Why me? Why me?" I think at that moment, like I said, the switch that flicked was, it's not about why me, it's about what now. And that, I think, is kind of what drove me to, okay, it's time to get up off the floor, get back to your feet. The world is not going to slow down or stop because I have this. Yeah. And I also thought, you know what, I'm really grateful. I don't have some kind of deformity or something that made me bedridden or something. I didn't have those kinds of things. So finally found a medication after seeing probably 5 different neuro-like specialists. The first medication wasn't working. Well, that's because the pharmacy didn't dispense the medication as they should have. And I fall into that very small percentile to where the generic drug didn't work, so I had to be on the formulary drug. Finally, then after about 6 to 8 months of me not being controlled, discovering that, I finally got controlled. Yeah. Well, you have to have no seizures for a year before you can drive. Right. So
Which was part of the reason you couldn't work, is you couldn't drive, because your business was on the road. Right?
On the road, me being present in front of varying different administrators and hospitals and surgical centers and working with doctors. And when you're not there, you can't protect your territory. You can't protect your business. I did have teams that I worked with, but collectively they did well, but it's hard to replace the visionary. It's hard to replace the engine. And that's kind of how I looked at myself and felt myself.
So you get through all that, obviously, and it's a long story, lots to unwind there, unpack, and we're going to get into working together, but this is a Make Me Good podcast. So let's take a minute and focus on that. So you go through this incredible challenge in your life. You're single. This is before you met me. You weren't married at the time. How does all of that now, looking back, how did that make you good? How did that make you better, stronger? Yeah. What did you learn from that? What can other people take from the struggle you had that they might be able to apply to their lives?
Right. I think if you get in your own way, then it makes it worse. And you get stuck in this mindset, as you talk about mindset shifts, where you are your worst enemy. You are your biggest roadblock. You become that limiting factor. It's not anybody else. It's not the medical field for me. It's not my team that I was working with. It was me. So I was very fortunate to be able to find a great doc who stuck with me and said, we're going to find what works. We found what worked. I stopped having seizures. And then now, if a couple years ahead, I thought, wow, people go through so much that's worse than that. And so, like you said, what made me good, I think, when you go through those struggles and then you figure out how to get out of your own way. And so I've always thought it's not about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. So taking away the blame everywhere else, it was this person's fault. It was this instance's fault. Well, if that never would have happened, then I would be here. Okay, well, take those challenges. And I know it's easier to say than to do. But if you just turn down the noise that's in your head, and that sounds so simple, but if you just actually do that and get out of your own way, and what does that mean? It means quit making excuses. So a good way to not make excuses, write your goals, and then do some research, figure out how to get to that goal. And you don't have to jump off the cliff. You just have to walk toward it and make yourself go in the right direction.
So it allowed you to get over poor me and rapidly into, okay, I've got to deal with this now. Yep. Okay, it's controlled medically. Okay, now what? Let's go. Pedal down. Let's hammer.
And that pedal was down, trust me, because I missed driving my car.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like I said, I was very fortunate, and the beauty of why I was fortunate was I after I got out of pharmaceuticals, I was never locked to one place. So if I wanted to move from a territory that I had built in Northern Virginia or DC and go to Maryland or go to Jersey or anything like that, I could. So I was very fortunate to be able to just get back and get my hands into a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
And then, so that was my track. And then I met you.
Yeah. Well, let's shift
there's
gears
a few
now.
other tracks.
Let's fast forward to kind of more the present, because I want to dig into working together as husband and wife. There are plenty of husbands and wives out there that have to do this. And part of my hesitancy when we thought about this was this cliched notion of never do that. And now, having been through it for several years, I can attest it's every bit as hard as someone might suggest it is. It truly is that hard. And I want to lead into this by saying one thing, and I think it's a credit to both of us. If your marriage is not rock solid, you will not survive this process.
No.
Do you agree with that?
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
I think, and I probably will cry, but when we first got together, I said there's a few things that are non-negotiable or that you'll be able to take to your grave with me. Is one, I'm never going to commit suicide. That's purposeful because I grew up around.
That was very comforting, I must say.
I don't think you'd ever heard anybody tell him that. But the reason why I said it is because I have a lot of Navy SEAL friends and several of them did take their lives. And it doesn't matter who. Whenever that happens, so much gets left behind.
Yeah.
And they, whomever it is, doesn't see that.
Yeah.
So I saw that. So I was like, okay, one thing, even though it's kind of morbid, is that'll never happen. Two, I'll never cheat on you. And part of that is I'll never
also
lie
comforting.
to you. And then it was, I will always communicate. Maybe not exactly when you need it, want it, and maybe not exactly in the form in which I'm supposed to be all comforting and sensitive and tell you that's not my personality. I don't do the sandwich effect. You don't have to say something nice first and then give you the blow and then tie it up in a bow. Just say what you need to say, get it done, get it over with. And I don't think you'd ever really been, not that you've never been spoken to like that. You played sports all the way through college, med school. People spoke to you in a very stern and strict way, but I don't think that a woman ever gave you that kind of security, but then also was that hard on you.
Yeah.
So I don't recall there being any kind of immediate commentary after those three things that I told you. I remember exactly where we were. We were driving on 70 going west from Vail to approximately like Avon somewhere. And I think that startled you a little bit, but I do remember, fast forward a year or two ahead, it was something along the lines of, you are the one person, or one of the things that I've learned from you, not the only thing, but one thing, is how to fight productively.
Yes, that was very much something I had to figure out. And obviously that's very individualistic between two people, but you're the type of person that once in a while we need to have it out. And you, it's necessary, right? We have got to get through this. And I had never really been in that type of situation relationship-wise before, and I hated it at first. I hated the fact.
You still do.
Yeah. I hated the fact that once in a while we had to get into a knockdown, drag out, fight over an issue, whatever it was, work, personal, otherwise. But I did learn and I did adapt. But that was also some back and forth. I had to learn how to fight with you. You did it just fine. It was more on my end. But how does that play into our daily lives in terms of, running two companies? You're involved with both. How do we make that productive? How do we use that to make us good?
Well, I'll try to keep it short and simple. One is, I know it's hard to work with me sometimes just because of your personality. And let me explain for a few words to describe that personality. I get in trouble a lot because he doesn't like how I say it, but like I said, I'm pretty straightforward. He's very diplomatic. I am not so much diplomatic. Say what you need to say and get the F out of the way and fix it and move on. That's it. It's behind you now. And I remember I had to go through that myself, where I had to get out of my own way and put a lot of things behind me and stop looking in the rearview mirror to continually remember that, oh, that happened to me. Oh, let me go get in the pity party. So I think that was something that I learned. And then unfortunately that gets spewed onto you because, like you just said, it's really hard.
Yeah.
And in the very beginning, and I don't mean like a couple months very beginning, but in the first several years, I think I sort of like steamrolled you and you weren't used to that. But there's really only one thing that we fight about. I'll let you say what that is. Let's see if you get it right. But
I know the answer to that right away. It's immediate. Yeah. I don't listen. Yeah. So it's a good point to stay on for a second here. So when you're running a practice and, CEO of a company and other things, and then your husband and a father and all these things, you get the noise is distracting. And one of the hardest things from a personal perspective in your personal life is turning that noise off and focusing when you need to. And that's a skill. It's a muscle you have to flex.
Yes.
And sometimes if we're bickering or whatever, or something that may not be important to me but is important to you, you get kind of selective hearing loss.
Purging words is what David likes to say.
Yeah, that's a separate issue. Yeah. So
no, that's why he turns off, apparently. That's what he says.
So Zoe is very loquacious.
Oh, gosh.
And you guys know what loquacious means. So Zoe has this innate need to purge words. Every day she needs to purge about 20,000 words. If she does not, she gets terribly frustrated. And if she purges, it's cathartic. She feels better.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
No, let's be realistic. As a husband, wife, these are the things that we go through. I will say a few things. I know that I don't know if they're particularly working together, but there's a lot of people that say, check work at the door. For me, I struggle with that. And I don't know if that's actually right or wrong. I know that's wrong for me because sometimes there's limited hours and there's lots of things going on. And then when you get home, it's the time between the business partners, because at that point, we're not married anymore. We are business partners that have exact things that need to get done. And then the good thing that I always rely on is that a lot of the hard work, a lot of staying on track and focused and getting out of your own way so that when it's really hard, you can actually complete the tasks. With that, there's a great reward at the end of that journey, like you've said before, on this odyssey that we're on. So I think bringing work home, this might not work for everybody, but bringing it home has also enabled us to be able to work through those problems and talk a little more. And there's not other distractions in the office and patients and phone calls and all of that. So we've been able to agree, and this went back to the very early part, was the level of communication and security and foundation that we agreed upon. Partly, we also agreed upon sacrifice. I know that there's a lot of married couples, just in general, even if they're not working together. One works a lot to take care of the family, and that's super important, and that has its own sacrifice in itself. And then somebody else is saying, you don't spend enough time with me, or you don't do this, or you don't do that, or whatever it is. Now, granted, I know a lot of people say it has to be 50-50. That's not going to work. I'm just going to let you know. Don't ever have that expectation of it always being 50-50. You might be sacrificing a lot for a month just because of your schedule. Well, it's my job, in order to make it 50-50, is to pick up the load and carry 90% of the load. Now, I shouldn't be carrying 90% of the load all the time. Then we got to shift a little bit, but
well, it's about roles, isn't it? So one of your primary roles is to run operations, the day-to-day operations of a company. That allows me and frees me up to engage in research and development and books and podcasts and, to be more the figurehead leader type, visionary type, which we have identified as, a working combination. But it does put a lot of pressure on you in terms of the day-to-day task-driven part of this, which is just consuming.
Well, don't forget, I also am in charge of sales and growing the company. So those two combined together, it's a lot for sure. And then on top of all that, we decided that it was a good thing for me to start a new company.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I was not initially for that either. So we're running two companies. We have the medical practice, which was new. We moved it from Vail to here in Miami, brand new practice, big, ambitious, as we always do. And of course, the biotech continues. You're involved in both, and you come to me and you say, I want to start a third company.
Well, and
why supplements?
Well,
Talk about that.
That perfect lead in. The good thing is that, so we both are fitness focused, and that's one of those things that, by the way, when he does get grumpy, I get grumpy and I'm like, leave the house right now.
Where do I tell you to send me?
Go to the gym.
Go to the gym.
Because you're
Best place
annoying
for
me. You're picking at me, and I don't want that. It's not that I can't tolerate it. It's just get the F out of the house. Like, go to the gym and go do something.
I always say the gym is cheaper than therapy.
Yes, very much so.
Right.
And for both of us, and we talked about sacrifice, where sometimes I just can't make it to the gym, but I always get back on track and say that I need to get there, and I get back into, I'd like to go 4 days a week, and sometimes it ends up being 3 back-to-back days and not spread out. And but so the supplement companies, so that's important. There's you'll talk more about the science and research, but we all have to believe that if you take care of the inside of your body, the outside is even better as well. And so we do know that there are key fundamental supplements that that do aid in changing the body.
And here in Miami, right, we're immersed in the fashion industry, right?
The land of the beautiful
and
people.
And we talk about beauty is not only external, but from the inside out, right? And nutrition and supplementation and exercise and leading a healthy lifestyle all contributes to this outward product that is so important to a lot of people to make their living here in Miami, yes?
Oh, yeah. Well, so both of us just said we're so heavily involved in, for you, orthopedics, and then obviously bringing on the medical aesthetics part of regenerative medicine and leading and you being a pioneer in the field and making it better. Well, supplements actually do help make it better. So it just was a no-brainer for us. It wasn't something that was so far out of our wheelhouse that it was, oh my gosh, I have to think about these two totally separate things and then start this that is 100% not related. So it was the triad of what we needed to, and then we both just laughingly said, we're tired of taking everybody else's supplements. I'm tired of looking at other people's brands. We can do this just as good, if not better. And so I took on the challenge, and
now you have 3 companies.
That's true. We worked through it, and then we were able and very fortunate to work with an extremely well-known individual in the supplement industry and exceptional formulator. So I'm grateful because we created a novel product that for me is something that, one, I rely on every single day, but I'm very cognizant of mental and brain health and acuity because I have crashed into so many countertops. I've split open the side of my head. I've basically almost bled out on the floor because I was knocked unconscious when I was having seizures. Right. So when they were uncontrolled, if I was sitting at the bar stool working on my computer and had a seizure, by the way, real story, fell out of the chair and then split open the side of my head, had 12 sutures put in there, woke up, and I was in a pool of blood. So, and I remember getting my stitches and then checking out at the nurse, and she said, "Girl, what color is your hair? I love it." And I looked at her and I said, "The color of blood."
Yeah, right.
So anyway, going back to
brain health, right?
Yep.
One of your signature products focuses on brain health, which is it's home to you. It's personal,
yes, very,
but can help a lot of folks.
Yep.
We're not going to dig into the supplements today, but just real quickly, what was the inspiration for the product and what's it supposed to do?
Well, you had a key role in that as well, in addition to Anthony. So I was fortunate to be part of that. But interestingly, it's super easy. It's very simple, and it doesn't need to be overcomplicated to be effective. And that's one of the things that I love about it. So 2 of the raw ingredients that are in it have actually been shown to help influence mood in a positive way, increase mental acuity, reaction time, and be truly a nootropic that can actually help people. You would also mention something about this crazy world. We're so overstimulated.
Yep.
We are so distracted. You got a phone, you got a computer, you've got all of everything else that goes on. We live in Miami. There's crazy cars and honks and accidents. I mean, it's just overwhelming. And I get to be fortunate enough to be a part of millions of people's lives to help them feel better, react better. And
so the
quite
product
honestly,
helps them to focus?
Well, quite honestly, make them good. Yes, it helps you focus. It makes you feel better. Truly, that's one of the things that people say is, "Oh my gosh, I feel good." And then also, yes, and being able to focus, it's almost as if your reaction time increases and you're able to get things done. So that's, like I said, super important to me. And
I want to go to a separate topic to kind of wrap things up here, but just so people know, what is the name of the product and where can they get it if they want to learn more?
Company is Zeta Body, Zeta. BODY.
Okay.
And then the product is Z83. Funny, just a quick sentence story about that. So David's like, what do we call this product? I have no idea. I don't know. Something. It's really good. What about brain? What about this? And then all of a sudden, doctor, it almost was like a lot number. And he yelled it at me down the hallway as I was walking because I was irritated at him that he was challenging me what to call it. And he didn't like this name. He didn't like that name. And that one doesn't work. And I'm like, well, I don't know what works either. So I walk out of the hall and just call it Z83.
Why
I was
Z83?
like, okay. Zoe, first name, 1983, birth date. So
That's
it is,
how we got to
Z83.
All right, great. Let's wrap up with something. Let's get back to the couples working together thing, because I think you touched on it earlier, this concept of bringing work home and balancing roles and work-life balance, if you believe in that type of thing. But what I want to ask you is, from your perspective and pertaining to managing and working with me, how do you compartmentalize our work life and our married life when you have to? And a lot of times that's blurred, I understand. But if you have to do it, how do you do it? What do you do? Or maybe you don't.
I'll just say this. I'll keep
Or what
it.
should we do?
It's a really simple thing, and don't overcomplicate it. You just have to do it. So there are really good days and there are really bad days, where bad days feel like 36 hours within 12 hours. All right, well, that's what it is. You just have to do it. There is no magic solution. And this is what I hope people can be comforted by. You just have to, until, like what your friend says, until you don't have to. Mm-hmm. So then you can hire more help because you got successful and you just did it. You can take more time for yourself because you became more successful because you just did it. Get out of your own way. Stop complaining. Stop making excuses. Write things down. Start to make checklists. Achieve the checklist. And all of a sudden, guess what? You just did it.
Yeah. So you've heard me talk about Rocky Balboa entrepreneurship, right? And getting your butt kicked for 11 rounds, hoping to win in the 12th. You've lived alongside me during that process. And you've asked me this question, but I'm going to ask it back to you on the air here. Over the last several years, working 60 hours, working at night, working all the time, basically, because the work doesn't do itself. Is it worth it for someone out there who wants to start a business? Is it worth it, and why?
Well, one, we communicated early on that we had big goals and that we were not going to prevent each other from achieving those goals. What we set was not a small task. So yes, absolutely. What I envision us achieving is success, and you can define success in many ways, but we get to do anything and everything together, and achieving that and making that the ultimate goal and having all of those successes in the 3 companies that we have, I would never trade that for anything.
So a follow-up question to that then. As hard as it can be, and the highs aren't high enough and the lows are really low at times, does this make our marriage good, better? How? How does it do that? Even through the conflicts and the difficulties and the fights and the challenges, which inevitably are going to be there if you're going to work together. How does it make us good?
Well, the foundation and the possibility to do those things and get through those things is built on trust. Mm-hmm. And I trust you immensely. So I think you have to have that very important foundation first. Conversation, agreement, discussion, and you have to constantly go back to that when it gets harder and you start to drift from it. Yeah. But I know that I can always be reeled back in. I can always make a mistake, say something wrong, come back to you because I trust you. Yeah. And that has made us good, but I know that I can speak for me, that it's made me immensely good.
Yeah. And I'll interject as well here. Marriage is hard enough as it is. To add this on top of it adds another layer of challenge. And I think one of the things it reinforces for me is if we didn't have that genuine, deep, real love as husband and wife, it wouldn't survive this. There's no way it wouldn't.
Without God, too.
Yeah, of course. That's a key part of it. Good point. But it's reinforcing to me to know it's not us saying it to each other. You know it's there because there's no way we would be sitting here doing this interview, everything we've been through over the last 3 years, building these companies and the challenges that come with it, If that wasn't there, so I think it's a real test of not only your relationship, but a test of the actual love and whether or not it's real between husband and wife. And if you can overcome those things through a process like this, you know it's there. It's not a question. It's a guarantee at that point.
So has it made you good?
It depends on the day. Some days I'm bad, some days I'm good. But as a whole, I think it's made us good, even though at times it's incredibly hard. So let's wrap there. Thank you for being here, baby. Great interview. And thank you, more importantly, for all the love and support and trust and taking this crazy ass ride with me as we've done over the past few years. There's lots more to talk about. We'll have you back. We can unwind some of the details and science and lots of really cool, interesting stories that we have to tell. But thanks for being here on this introductory session between us. And we hope that people like what we had to say. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
I was honored. Thank you.